Hi, everybody. Welcome to the BOBE podcast, where we highlight young entrepreneurs as well as movers and shakers across various industries. And today I'm happy to welcome Aïcha Haïdara, one of our very first guests on the podcast.
Thank you for
And
having me.
you're welcome. Thank you for making yourself available, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to introduce the world and our audience to what you do. And before that, let me introduce you properly. So Aisha, she specializes in training and development, and particularly helping to break down the cycle of problematic beliefs and behaviors. And she is actually a certified coach. And today, the objective of our talk today is really to introduce the world to DARA Coaching. And this is a life coaching business or practice based out of Copenhagen, where Aisha lives today, and she'll tell us a little bit more about her background a bit later on. And with this, she provides guidance and support, to companies, but also individuals, and helping them to reach, and attain their goals. So, welcome. Such a pleasure to have you. And to start off, let everybody know who you are. We want to know about your background and also what led you and inspired you to launch or to start, Dari Consulting.
Yes, of
Coaching.
course.
I keep saying, you know what? This
Did you say
Anyway,
consulting?
I did. I tell you, I know it's in my mind, but I just keep saying it. And
I didn't even hear it now.
this is an inside joke for everyone. I know it's Dara coaching, but for some reason, consulting keeps coming to my mind.
But
But
it
yes,
is close.
yeah.
It's close to consulting. But thank you, Jason, and thank you for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here, and I think you have managed to create a very amazing network. So I'm happy to be a part of it and to meet everyone here via this email, not email, but video. But yes, so my name is Aïcha Haïdara. I'm originally from Finland in Helsinki. My mom is Finnish and my dad is from Ivory Coast. And I've been here in Denmark for the past eight years already. And so, like Jason mentioned, I have my own life coaching practice called DARA Coaching, and my mission is to help people break the cycle of problematic beliefs and behaviors. And with that, I mean all of those, core thoughts, core feelings that we have gathered through our life. Because if we want to make any kind of change, I believe that we have to first understand what is the core reason, and then when we can actually change the narrative. And the reason I started this coaching business was that I had, unfortunately, another burnout about a year ago from work. And it wasn't my first time that it happened to me. And of course, at some point, I have to ask the questions that what am I doing? Why am I here again? What do I keep doing? Is it the environment or is it me? And of course, at this time, there was the pandemic. Everyone was like stressed and tired and afraid. So, in a way, it was a blessing in disguise because during that sick leave that I had to take away from my day job, I had to really dig deep in myself. And that's where I realized that I have a lot of people pleasing tendencies.
Yeah.
I like so much, so many people pleasing tendencies that I was willing to also sacrifice my well being in order to get some sort of validation from basically any authority figure, whether it was a manager, whether it was even somebody I don't even know on the street, but I just put them on this pedestal. So it was very hard for me to set any boundaries or anything. And with the help of counseling and then also coaching, I could use some very practical tools that
Yeah.
helped me identify those core reasons and where it came from, and then start to tackle them from that angle and like find new ways to describe myself basically. And that was the help for me. And at the same time, I could see that people around me were pretty much in similar situations, like people just in their 30s or early 30s, becoming sick with stress, having these huge obstacles or objectives that they want to reach without really like feeling that they are their own dreams. But it might be that their parents have like given the example, for instance. So you take on that pressure that I need to be able to do as much that my parents did, or I need to do better than my parents, or whatever the reason, basically. So I started DARA Coaching because I wanted to be able to provide those kinds of tools to other people. Because once you really have that curiosity to learn about yourself, we all have those answers within us. It's just about giving the space for you to reflect and understand, and then we can make the change.
No, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I think as you mentioned, this circumstance of burnout is not
Yeah.
unique to you. I think a lot of us working within the corporate or even just working regular 9 to 5, we
Yeah.
arrive at a space and time where we just begin to feel exasperated, and
Yeah.
oftentimes we ignore the signs. Um,
Yes.
it's apparent to us, but we often ignore the signs and we push ourselves to the limit to the point where we become completely burnout, that we become sick. So what I would like
Exactly.
to find out from you in terms of what were some of the signs. You mentioned
Mm.
one in terms of people pleasing tendencies,
Yeah.
but what are some other signs that you identified, you know and also one second thing is that you mentioned that this was your second burnout. It wasn't your first time
Yeah.
having a burnout. So what led to the second time, or what happened? What was different between the first burnout and the second
Yeah.
burnout?
That's a very many good questions. So I'll try to answer all of
Yes.
them. So the first one was about like the signs, right?
Yeah.
Like what kind of signs did I have? I would say the most like obvious signs were physical ones, but like you said, I just pushed them aside. So I would get like back pains. My job was a very office job, so of course a lot of sitting in front of the screen, and I was not taking breaks. I was not giving myself the freedom to like, okay, let me just take 5 walk around, get some fresh air. So I was determined to be like 8 hours on the computer, just delivering as much as I can. And then I came home and so exhausted that I would just, lay on the couch, watch Netflix, be on social media, and my back started to ache. And of course, headache started to come. And it went to the point that every time I had to go out, for instance, my body was having pain. And I
Hmm.
went to physiotherapist and thinking that now I have something in me, and all the tests came out positive or negative in that sense that there is nothing wrong. Positive in a way that I'm healthy.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and and then I was like, what is happening? But the more I started to rest, and I also found this very great source of information for me, which is a person called Gabor Mate. He has this book called When Your Body Says No. So he talks about
Mm.
trauma and stress and how they are all like circling together, and especially suppressed anger and emotions start to become physical symptoms, and your body is literally telling you to stop and process these things before you move on. So that really hit the nail on my end, because I also had been having asthma my entire life,
Yeah.
but very like mild, so nothing too serious. But I could definitely also feel that when I was very stressed, I had breathing issues, and I could just feel that I'm not doing well. So I would say those were the severe symptoms. But just basic tiredness and having like bad dreams and being very pessimistic about outcomes would be like early on signs that you should probably take a rest. And I would
No.
like to add that, the life where we live, most of us at least have social media, and that's like an easy escape for us to like, let me take a break, I'll just go on Instagram, or I'll just scroll somewhere, watch videos. But actually when we are already exhausted, that just makes our brain even more loaded, because we give more information every time we look at something. So that was also one thing that I really had to make like schedules for myself of not answering messages. I'll give myself 1 hour each day to just answer messages, be on social media. Otherwise, I'll just have to do something else. But now I forgot a little bit about the rest of your questions.
No. Well, this is good, and I think this is leading into what my next thing that I would love to for us to talk about,
Yeah,
and how that sometimes we don't realize, but unconsciously, just working in the office, there's some stereotypes that we think that because we're going in the office and we have a job that's sedentary or we're not
yeah,
lifting things, there's not a lot of manual labor. We think that it's not physically taxing. It's
yeah,
not, emotionally draining, and it's not, mentally draining us. So we tend to, overcompensate or overwork and saying, okay, we can
yeah,
stay a few more hours. And then when we
yeah,
get home, we feel this in our bodies, but then we
yeah,
take it for granted because we're saying that, okay, maybe it's an office work.
yeah,
we didn't lift any, we're lifting heavy objects all day. So you don't really recognize that tiredness,
yeah,
that fatigue is coming from, just,
yeah,
from working, because you're actually, even if you're sitting
yeah,
down all day, it's very mentally, you're still,
yeah,
using energy. Um,
exactly.
and, what would you, in terms of, now, today, in terms of your line of work and your coaching, what would, be, some advice that, you would give, to your younger self, yourself before, because
Mm,
just use that as an
yes.
example. Yeah.
I love that question. I think the first tip that comes to my mind is just listen to yourself. Like, really listen to yourself and also validate your own signs. Because I think that's been my biggest struggle growing up, the people pleasing especially. I'm the youngest in our family and very much took the role of like not wanting to be a burden. And it's difficult to ask for help. So in that sense, it's also difficult for me to ask help for myself and listen to the symptoms that I'm feeling. So I would say just, set your own boundaries, listen to yourself, and follow the things that you really want to do. That would be like the major
No,
advice.
perfect. And yeah, just to, for people listening, or people, who'd want to get in touch with you, or to, reach out to you for coaching,
Yeah.
how can people reach you? What, where, is, Dara Coaching, where can they find you today?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm mostly active on my Instagram, so it's just at DARA Coaching. My website will be launching in November, so then there will be all the services, all the contact information, but mostly either on my Instagram or LinkedIn, also DARA Coaching. You can just drop me a message or send an email to my email address, and maybe we can write it down in the comments, but it's contact@daracoaching.com. And I do coaching in person in Copenhagen or then online. So it's outside of the borders. Everyone is welcome who feels like this could be beneficial for them. And there's different services for different situations.
No, awesome. And I think to sum this all up, or to to put everything, tie everything with a bow, a beautiful
Yeah.
bow. What would you give an advice to someone today, who is struggling, in terms of in a job, they
Mm,
feel overworked, they feel stressed. Obviously, they're not yet to the point where they're feeling burnout, but
yeah.
they're noticing the signs,
Yeah.
um, but also they're probably not happy with where they're at today.
Yeah.
What would be one, takeaway, or one advice that you would give to this person, and maybe something that you would launch a conversation with them about,
Yeah.
as you venture into coaching them, into creating new possibilities for them to move forward in their life.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important question to ask because most of us, we might have those symptoms like you mentioned, but we don't really see them. And it's also difficult to accept them. It takes a moment to really accept that I am not feeling as
Mm-hmm.
good as I thought or I would like to. So the first advice would be try to be as honest to yourself and listen to yourself. So if you start to feel like I'm just constantly tired, not really motivated, get angry and frustrated really easily, just look at your lifestyle and see like, how am I doing energy wise? And I have this free tool that I have available for everyone, which is called Reflect on Your Life. And the whole goal is to use those few moments to grade your satisfaction in different areas of your life. So how happy are you with your work situation, your home environment, your relationships? Because sometimes we might feel like, I'm exhausted with my job, I don't like it. But the more you actually pay attention, it might be that you are not happy at home, for instance. But it's more easy to say, put the blame on the work, because when you come home, you're just tired, you're angry, but it's because you don't feel home, you don't feel good, so you can't ever recharge. So I would suggest to use that tool. And when you fill it out, it's a questionnaire, and then you just see where you want to put your own focus on. And based on that, I will reach out to everybody who decides to fill it out to see if there is any benefits from coaching. And then we can have that conversation on what it is actually that is happening. Most of the time, there are some underlying reasons beneath the exhaustion.
Exactly. No,
Yes.
but thank you so much, Aisha, for joining us today. And for those of you who would like to have access to, this test, we'll be adding it in the description below so you could fill it out. And, also we'll be adding Aisha's contact. So it's contact at daracoaching.com.
Yes, exactly. Yes, same.
So we'll be putting that down in the description below. Thank you so
Yes.
much, for joining us today, and thank you for everyone that will be listening or who's currently, well, not currently listening, because everyone who will be listening. Don't forget
Yes.
to follow, share, and to subscribe. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.